I never imagined that the people I trusted the most would be the ones who destroyed my life. For years, I believed I had everything a man could want. A stable job, a loving wife, and a family that always seemed close. I used to think betrayal was something that happened to other people. Something you hear about in dramatic stories online. Not something that could quietly grow inside your own home. But I was wrong. At the time, I was 36 years old, living in a quiet suburb outside Chicago. I worked long hours as a project manager, trying to build a future for my family. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 8 years. We didn't have children yet, but we talked about it often. I trusted her completely, and I trusted my younger brother, Daniel, even more. Daniel had always been a part of our lives. He came over for dinner almost every week. He helped us move into our house. When things got hard financially, I was the one who supported him. I believed that family meant loyalty. That blood was unbreakable. That belief slowly began to crack in ways I didn't notice at first. It started with small things. Emily became more distant. She was always on her phone, turning the screen away when I walked into the room. Daniel started showing up unexpectedly, often when I wasn't home yet. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Life gets busy. People change. That's normal. But deep down, something felt off. There were nights when Emily would say she was too tired to talk. Dinners became quiet. When I tried to ask what was wrong, she would smile and say everything was fine. And I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Then the arguments started. They weren't loud at first. Just tension, short replies, silence that stretched for hours. I remember one night asking her if she was happy, and she hesitated just a little too long before answering. That pause stayed in my mind longer than her words ever did. Daniel, meanwhile, started acting differently toward me. He avoided eye contact. He laughed nervously at things that weren't funny. Once, when I surprised him by coming home early, I caught him and Emily sitting unusually close on the couch. They jumped apart like teenagers caught doing something wrong. They both laughed it off. I laughed too. But inside, my chest felt tight. The first real crack came when I checked our bank account. Thousands of dollars were missing. When I asked Emily about it, she said it was for household expenses. When I looked deeper, the numbers didn't add up. I confronted her again, and this time she snapped at me. She accused me of not trusting her. That hurt more than I expected. A week later, Daniel asked me for money. Again. He said he was struggling, that he needed help. I gave it to him without hesitation. Family helps family. That's what I had always believed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every strange moment from the past few months. The distance, the lies, the money. My instincts were screaming, but my heart refused to listen. Then came the message. It was from a number I didn't recognize. No name, just a single sentence. You deserve to know the truth. Attached was a photo. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then my stomach dropped. It was Emily, and Daniel, sitting in a car, her hand on his leg. His head leaned close to hers. The date and time were from just 2 days earlier. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I didn't confront them immediately. I needed to be sure. I needed to understand how deep this went. Over the next few days, I paid attention. I noticed the late-night texts. The excuses. The way Emily avoided my eyes when Daniel's name came up. I followed her one evening. I hated myself for doing it, but I did. She told me she was meeting a friend. Instead, she drove across town and parked outside a small apartment building. Daniel's building. I watched from my car as she walked inside. I don't know how long I sat there. 10 minutes. An hour. Time stopped meaning anything. When she finally came out, her hair was messy, her smile unmistakable. That was the moment something inside me broke. When I confronted them, there was no dramatic denial. No tears at first, just silence. Then excuses. They said it just happened. They said they never meant to hurt me. They said they were confused. They had been seeing each other for over a year. A year. While I worked late. While I paid bills. While I defended Daniel to friends who said he was irresponsible. While I planned a future with a woman who was already living a double life. The betrayal didn't end there. As the truth came out, I discovered that the missing money wasn't for household expenses. Emily had been giving it to Daniel. They were planning to move away together. They had talked about it in messages I was never supposed to see. My own brother. My own wife. I moved out that same night. The days that followed felt unreal. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I replayed every memory, wondering how I missed the signs. Wondering if any of it had been real. Emily tried to call. Daniel sent messages saying he wanted to explain. I blocked them both. Then came the legal part. The divorce. The paperwork. The conversations that stripped everything down to numbers and signatures. I lost half of what I owned. The house we planned to raise children in was sold. Friends took sides. Some disappeared entirely. The hardest part wasn't the anger. It was the loneliness. There were nights when I sat alone in my empty apartment, listening to the city outside, wondering how my life had collapsed so completely without anyone noticing. I questioned my worth. I questioned my judgment. I questioned whether I would ever trust anyone again. Months passed. I started therapy. I forced myself to go to the gym. I learned how to cook for one. Slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild something that looked like a life. One evening, almost a year later, I ran into Emily by accident at a grocery store. She looked different. Tired. Older. She tried to talk to me. She said things hadn't worked out with Daniel. She said she was sorry. I listened. Then I walked away. Because some betrayals don't deserve closure. Some wounds don't need reopening. Healing doesn't always come from forgiveness. Sometimes it comes from choosing yourself. Today, my life is quieter. Simpler. But it's honest. I learned that trust should never be blind. That family doesn't always mean loyalty. And that listening to your instincts can save you from years of pain. If you're watching this and something in your life feels wrong, don't ignore it. The truth has a way of surfacing, whether you're ready for it or not. And sometimes, losing everything is the first step toward finally finding yourself.